Just as tens of thousands of people descended on Minneapolis for the Final Four, the city less noisily moved to the leading edge of cell phone technology, joining Chicago and Seoul as the first places in the world with some 5G, or fifth-generation, network coverage. Verizon Communications Inc., the nation's largest wireless service provider, last week flipped the switch on 5G cell sites covering portions of downtown Minneapolis, including U.S. Bank Stadium, Nicollet Mall and the Convention Center. Used with smartphones capable of processing 5G signals, the new network moves data at speeds that are 8 to 10 times faster than existing 4G networks, sometimes called LTE, that have been the norm for about a decade. The difference will be most visible in the most data-intensive uses of mobile devices. Video quality will be vastly improved, for instance, and waits for downloads or uploads, which many apps depict as spinning wheel, will shorten. The wheel is a thing of the past in 5G. Steve Van Dinter, a Verizon spokesman, said Tuesday. All through the Final Four events, Verizon's engineers tested coverage and found it routinely delivered speeds 4 times as fast as the existing 4G network. Van Dinter said his 5G phone showed a download speed of 826 megabits per second at the corner of 6th Street and Nicollet Mall. That's more than 4 times as fast the best 4G signals, which max out around 150 to 180 megabits per second. Within U.S. Bank Stadium, Van Dinter clocked a speed of 750 megabits per second. He said Verizon's equipment in Minneapolis is currently only using about half of the bandwidth that's available to it. Later this year, the company expects to double speeds to well over 1 gigabit per second, the speed reached by fiber-based networks for home internet service. The only phone in the U.S. right now that's capable of using a 5G network is Motorola's $480 Moto Z3, and only after it has been modified with a $199 antenna and chipset that snaps to the back. Within a few months, Verizon expects to sell a Samsung smartphone that runs on 5G networks. Apple is not expected to offer 5G iPhones until late next year. Wireless provider, announced in February that Minneapolis St. Paul will be one of the first markets where it is also installing 5G network equipment. Executives at both firms cited steps by local political leaders to welcome the build-out of 5G networks. Because 5G signals do not travel as far as previous generations did, more transmission and reception equipment has to be deployed to create cells of coverage. The Minnesota legislature in 2017 passed a measure allowing the deployment of cellular equipment that covers over smaller distances, and the city of Minneapolis has been aggressive in working with the wireless service providers. We had to work to get this new and innovative model set up for small cell and small antenna technology, which is kind of a new thing. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey said at a Verizon event last week. But we worked it through the permitting process with the main intention of getting the technology, of course, but also of being first. Technically, the international 5G standard is still in flux, with final ratification expected by the International Telecommunication Union next year. But the chief specifications were settled in 2017, and equipment manufacturers and network providers have been racing ahead to commercialize it. Verizon's scheduling of a 5G launch events last Wednesday in Chicago and Minneapolis prompted wireless carriers in South Korea to move their 5G announcement for a portion of Seoul, which was planned for Friday, up by 2 days to the same day. Verizon's relatively small 5G footprint in the 2 U.S. cities still appeared to be bigger than the initial coverage in Seoul. But on Monday, South Korean President Moon Jae-in joined executives from its telecom firms to announce $30 billion in joint government and industry spending to deploy 5G across all of South Korea by 2022. It is sure to take several more years than that for U.S. carriers, spending chiefly without government assistance, to reach nationwide coverage here. For now, Verizon's 5G coverage in Minneapolis extends in small areas around U.S. Bank Stadium, along 4th Street over to Nicollet Mall and down several blocks toward the Convention Center. There is also coverage within the Mall of America, including at its company store there. Verizon said it will continue to expand coverage downtown and in other high-traffic areas of the Twin Cities throughout the year. The network will be different next week and even more different next month, Fendenter said. In Chicago, Verizon's 5G coverage is around parts of the Loop, Union Station, Willis Tower and some blocks on the Magnificent Mile, including a Verizon store there.